Some guys like that. They like them city girls that just want to. They just
I mean, if you're an incomplete man, absolutely.
That's why I didn't say man. I said guys.
Yeah, if you're incomplete.
Define incomplete.
I know I'm not willing to work on yourself, have no visions, no goal, no purpose, a disconnection to your truth, unwilling to heal. All of these things are extremely important to truly appreciate the value of femininity in your life. Otherwise,
He's done miracles on me. Back again, he's done. Back again, he's done miracles. Back again, he's done miracles on me.
Welcome back to For the Love of Man. I'm your host, Song. Here with us today is Dr. Sam, King, and Marcus. All right, Doc, you're up. What are we talking about?
Oh boy, pass that quick.
So quickly. So we were going to talk about aspects of compatibility and unspoken expectations in relationships.
What does that even mean? For the people who don't understand.
Can I finish?
Go ahead.
good Doc.
Okay. So today we're talking about aspects of compatibility and unspoken expectations. So what does it mean to actually be compatible? So a lot of people say, oh, we have chemistry or we're compatible, and they equate that to longevity or trying to stay together, but that's not actually what that means. You need more than just that. So first, like, how do we define compatibility and or chemistry, because they're kind of interchanged in this sense? And then what does that actually mean for a relationship?
Now I have a question, because I still need a little bit more on the diagram.
Too.
Yeah. So what would you define as, let's just say, because we know like back in the days it was people who got together that weren't compatible, but they made it work for like the household and the children. But what would that look like from a doctor standpoint of two people that are like compatible? Because some people like believe like, oh, I got chemistry, but then it goes into division and they ain't together no more. So
we have so much in common.
They got so much in common, so they just think like, because they like flowers, I like flowers, we're compatible, we'll be together forever. Like
we have the same favorite color.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. But that and that's true. That's what the surface level stuff, right? So from, I guess, the doctor perspective, right, compatibility is what's underneath that, right? So do we have the same values? Are those compatible? Do we both believe in God? Is that compatible? So for me, I guess my definition is, are we compatible beyond the fluff? And the fluff is my favorite color and flowers, and do I like to work out? Like, maybe that's the value underneath it is to be healthy, but working out is the fluff, if that makes sense.
Got you. Okay, so it still could be from the standpoint of having things that are in common with another person. So now my next question is,
do you want kids? Do I want kids? You don't like kids? All that stuff.
And do you want more kids?
Because no, that's really good, because even if like I guess my next question is to you. I know I keep coming back to tossing it your way, but my next question is like, should these compatibility questions, when's a good time frame for a person to go into those kind of conversations with compatibility and things?
The first date.
It's just that's what I was gonna say, but he said doc, so I was like, I'm gonna let her.
We're ready for that one.
I was like,
I need to know as soon as we sit down.
But and I don't mean it like you don't just start and then you start drilling, right? Because there are people that are like, why are you still single? Why are you still this? And it's like that. Those are, I almost cussed. Those are unintelligent questions, or they don't get you anywhere, right? Why someone is single doesn't necessarily help you answer anything. Like, maybe if you ask, like, if you were to look at yourself, what red flags do you feel like you would have, or what do you project? That's a different question. So I'm not saying sit down and immediately be like, we had dinner, so ABCXYZ elemental P, but that first getting to know is you're supposed to get to know. So what questions are you asking?
Because the point I was trying to make, because I wanted you to say that, is because I've been on a date before And yeah, it didn't make it very far because it just felt like I was being interrogated. I was like, I know what this feel like, and this ain't good.
Right, and I think there's a difference between interrogation and then genuinely getting to know one another and having a fluid conversation, right? And the intention behind the original intention behind a date was to get to know the other person, to get to know if it was worth it to keep going. It's now turned into this free food and all this other stuff, which is...
And the city girl activities.
Right. I don't want to make the episode about that, though, but we will acknowledge that is
a whole other episode.
Right, but I'll acknowledge that that's what it's turned into, but the entire intention behind a first date was, should we continue to a second date, or are we not compatible? So what are the aspects of compatibility from your perspectives? What is it that you're looking for? What do you think other people should look for from a male perspective?
Yeah.
Some
are you
guys
asking?
Might be compatible with city girls though, but whatever.
Hmm?
Some guys like that. They like them city girls that just want to.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an incomplete man, absolutely.
That's why I didn't say man. I said guys.
Yeah, if you're incomplete.
Define incomplete.
I know I'm not willing to work on yourself, have no visions, no goal, no purpose, a disconnection to your truth, unwilling to heal. All of these things are extremely important to truly appreciate the value of femininity in your life. Otherwise, it's cool because there was a girl who I dated right out of college, and we were just laughing because she's just circling back and just asking how I was. And she's like, you know what's crazy? She's like, before you knew what you wanted in a woman, she's like, you spent time with girls like me. And she was like, I was a hot mess back then, da da da. And I was like, nah, I always knew what I wanted. I was just willing to entertain the nonsense because I wasn't willing to do the work on myself to be worthy of what I wanted. She was like, oh yeah. Like, I was in a different chapter in life, right? Like, I just didn't want to work on myself to become the man that was worthy of even being in the conversation with women of that caliber, right? Like, it was just different.
Well, you was about to say something. Then we can.
I was clearing my throat because I was like, that was good. Yeah, the great part about it though that I've learned in the process of dating was the fact of once, like MJ just mentioned about the healing process, because like being married a good portion of my life and coming out of that, you're still broken and you're still hurting. So like when you're going through that, when people come around, you find that you find more people like that. Mm-hmm. You find more people that's hurt, that's broken. So like he said, you entertain that. So a lot of that just became, just kind of not occupation, that's like a job, but occupying each other's time at the moment. But it's not something that is going to be going for a long time. Absolutely. So, but what I did learn in the process of going through the different seasons of my life and healing myself and learning what was wrong about me and taking accountability, even for my decision making of the people I chose to be in my life before, is that it helped me to learn and grow myself. And so then at that point, I'm not going to say that people won't come into people's lives that may not be suited for you because you look like that shiny, nice thing that people want to be with, but they will never be able to stand in the presence of you if they're not working on themselves as well, because it's going to expose them, and that's going to be uncomfortable. So either they're going to grow or they're going to repel and leave, So it was great though, just going through like the dating phase and stuff like that, and learning what you did want and you didn't, because when you don't have an expectation, you're just enjoying somebody's presence, and you start learning more of yourself. But before I could do that, I was dating myself. So I was going to the movies by myself, eating by myself. I became comfortable and compatible with myself first, because I had to know that before I could know who could be compatible with me.
You went to the movies by yourself?
Oh, yeah.
I used to buy myself
I
flowers.
can't go to the movies by myself.
Oh, man.
Why? Because you ain't got nobody to argue with?
Or laugh with? Maybe you're argumentative ass. That's the first thing you think of. I'm going to movie and enjoy it. I'm not arguing with somebody at the movies.
It was often at times. Yeah, I was going in, I was checking it. I would go to movies with y'all and stuff like that. But it was times I had to be comfortable with me. Like, and there's stuff like, because most people are like, oh, and it's not to the point, I understand what your point is, but some people are not okay being by themselves.
Yeah,
right. That's why they jump from relationships.
They don't know how to spend time alone with themselves. And to be honest, that's when God speaks to me the most, because I'm not occupied with nothing else.
No noise.
And it's like, yeah, there's no noise, there's no time in that, and he gets to point about the things inside of me. So in that point, yeah, it was times, and it was even in the midst of when we were going to the movie stuff, I would just, duck off and be like, dang, I want to grow to the next level. So I know I've went to one level, but I need to figure this thing out on my own. Now the thing is, and people got to understand too, so many people are trying to rush into relationships and find this person to be in a relationship. I think sometimes it's just for either the gram or whatever the reason your reasoning is. You got to understand you're taking a whole nother person. Mm-hmm. And if you're not okay with being selfless, you're not ready for a relationship. So you want to spend all the time you can with yourself, understanding what triggers you, what ticks you, so you can express that in the dating process. Because one of the things that I learned when I started dating, I started asking people like things about past relationship to dig into it, to just understand, because most people don't tell you their triggers. So I would have conversations and be like, yeah, so why it didn't work and this and that. And I know the people go into all of those things, but I was like, so why'd you feel that way? You know what I'm saying? Because when you start learning the person, whoever you're going to be in it with, it should come to a point that you understand the person that you're getting into it with. And I don't want to say get into it, because that sounds like you about to, but the person that you choose to spend your life with or to go into life with, is that I've basically seen that there are times when things shift, and I'm going to say like death of parents. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna probably say it was definitely hard, not say because you can pretty much see, but my transition of life, my grandmother losing her was a very hard time for me. But the thing was, I didn't disappear a ghost. I've seen people who like lose parents and just say forget life and just go off to do something else. I still was present. I even conducted the actual funeral, like, and had to be there in the midst of all the trials and tribulations, and a lot of times that's hard in life, and those are things you're going to deal with. And I know you just lost Briscoe, man, and we reached out to you on that, but people who's been in your life and you lose it, it's like the next morning they're no longer there. So if you don't have a right person who's going to be selfish, and you got to notice when you first start dating them to make sure that they can weather those storms when you're not putting them first.
So is that an aspect of compatibility then? Like, is the trait to make someone compatible with you, is it someone who knows how to step up or step down when necessary?
For compatibility, for me, is a person who can find a way to put another person first outside of themselves. Like, even if it's your children, and that's why for me, I know MJ don't do children. For me, sometimes it's better because I do have children, for somebody who do understand that, because there are people, not you, but there are people who don't have children that really don't understand that patience of you being a parent. Yeah. Because I can honestly say I've seen you parent other people's children in relationships and stuff, and you've shown yourself to put yourself on the back burner to cook dinners and do stuff. So I'm speaking for personal, I've seen you do it. So, and that doesn't always happen. Because a lot of times, like we said, if it's a city girl activity, like, well, I want to be in Miami, forget them kids. Like, they're not thinking, like, why you gotta always be there at all they games and stuff. Like, that's a selfish standpoint. So for me to be compatible, you have to be selfless.
And we talked about it in the flip episode, right? But like, I've shifted my mindset to his now. Like, if I'm dating, you can't have kids, because I can't give all of that again and then walk away from it. And because then I do feel like, because I do put, the intention for me is I'm going to go all in if I'm going to, right? And so now I feel like part of my heart is outside, just walking around, and others, I don't know where it's at, I don't know what it's doing, I don't know if it's okay, like, and I'm cool.
I just want to circle back real quick to something that you said about just dating yourself, and I think that is important, especially for men and women, but especially for women, to learn how to date yourself, not just so that you can learn how to be alone, but also like buying yourself gifts and taking yourself out to dinner and stuff. And not to say when somebody else comes, you'll be like, oh, well, I could do this for myself. Not that attitude, but just from the mindset of, if they do those things for you, you're not so in cloud nine, like, oh, they did this stuff for me, that you ignore all the red flags of the other things they do. Like, if they buy you flowers and you're like, it's okay that they cuss me out this day because they bought me flowers. No, don't get so caught up in the gifts and the different things like that. And a lot of times females do that because they haven't allowed themselves to heal, and they don't recognize their own value, because they haven't spent that time with themselves to know that I want to give to myself, and I want to be able to give gifts to myself and be able to receive the gifts, so that I'm not waiting for some man to come in my life and do those things.
And another thing that I see, like for me, is understanding. I know there's so many different books, but understanding first and foremost that there's a certain love language that you have, that you operate by. So for me, being that it's now acts of service and quality time, but it used to be physical touch and quality time. So when my stuff shifted, it had to be a person who was willing to come in and per se be willing to jump right into what I was doing. Mm-hmm. Even not to me that you had to embrace my vision, you could be doing your own, but we're looking out for each other. And that's what it became. And oftentimes I only knew that because my life shifted and I spent time to myself. Because I was still been like, somebody been hugging me, I'd be like, nah, bro. Like,
that hug ain't hugging right now.
Hug ain't hugging the way it need to be. I was like, shoot. But that's why I honestly said it. I did start spending time with myself, and that was like in those quiet moment times, it got me to really just reflect on life. Because one of the things that was happening at the time is because I was trying to keep my kids in my life and stuff like that. And so they wasn't at the time, and things were shifting. And during that fight, it gave me more time when you came back, to the studio and stuff. And I'm like, dang, man, I got to start really reflecting. So oftentimes I say to anybody else who is going through that, in those times when it's cold and it's dark, spend time on your vision and your purpose, and spend the time with God most of all, just to get an understanding of yourself. What's the next move for yourself? So get compatible with yourself. Understand your purpose, because once you know your purpose, there's nothing that's gonna stop you with that and with the vision that God gives you. So it's very important that somebody naturally molds and blends into my life, that where it's not forced. I feel things are compatible when it just naturally comes together. Some people feel like they need to they gotta fit this, and fit that. But sometimes the person that you need in your life and the things you're asking for doesn't always come in the package that you think it is. And it don't always come in the time that you think it's gonna be. It could be sooner, could be later. You just got to be willing to be patient for what you really want. So you can have it, but I believe, for me, some people can have the physical and the outer appearance. I think there's more essence of your moral beliefs and the things you're going to do. Can you be okay with children? Are you good with money? You know what I'm saying? Are you lazy or not? Because I can't do a lazy person. Like, was just certain thing. I just can't do lazy. Because I'm just not, because that's the thing. Like, if you're a go-getter, that's why it's hard for me to believe that it could be a chick who stays at home, thinks she gonna just fuck all day, excuse my language, but she ain't gonna be able to do that and be with a go-getter. You're not gonna be with that. There's something inside of Beyonce, which she's a go-getter, that attracted Jay-Z. It wasn't like, this other chick who wasn't doing it. There's no Cinderella story like that, I believe, unless you were like high school sweethearts or something. Like Steph Curry or somebody like that, and his wife, like, who grew up together. But
I still think she's a go-getter too, though.
I'm not saying she's not. I'm just saying for the fact of where you could just find this person where it is, and then you have this other person. They grew together.
I like her.
Nah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's
it's okay.
Because the point I'm trying to mention is that they grew together, where Beyonce and Jay-Z were two separate individuals, and they merged and stuff like that. So that's just the aspect of that. So. But it's one thing that I did read in one of Jay-Z's books is that he was not able to come into that life till he mended a relationship with his father. So after that was a definite point where it was a turn in his life, and then he met B after that in one of the books I was reading. Mm-hmm. So
healing is super important. It's necessary though. Like, however you date yourself, where you get grounded in being clear that, and I think Pastor Michael Todd he does a series on singleness. Mm-hmm. Like, master your singleness and whatever it looks like, because you will see yourself in ways that you never thought possible when you spend time with yourself. Mm-hmm. And you'll start to, I can't say you, I started to analyze and break down things that I was craving, or why I spent time with the women that I spent time with, when I was like, I don't even really want to spend time with you. What void was I trying to fill because I didn't want to acknowledge it even existed? And once I started to look at things and then backtrack, like, where did this come from? When was the first time I felt like this? And I started to take it back to my relationship with my father. And I was like, him not being around gave me this story, and then I just kept adding layers and layers and layers to it. Then I was like, oh, this is why I spend time with women that I know I don't have any future with, because you can't hurt me if I don't value you. Because I'm never going to let you close enough. You're always, we talked about it before, replaceable. Right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't get, you ain't Beyonce. He'll be like, yo, to the left, to the right, get back, get out, doesn't matter, right? Like,
move around,
and I saw this clip from a podcast, and this gentleman was like, why would I chase women when there's a million of them and only one of me, because I'm working on my purpose? And he's like, he's like, girls are always going to be there. He's like, but I'm invaluable. Like, I'm priceless. And I was like, yo, I've been saying that to myself for the last couple of years. Like, I'm priceless. It's not that there's a million women in the world, but as I'm getting clear, like, I want that person who wants what I want in life. They don't have to want it the same way, but what I want in life, legacy, impact, like growth, all of those things. And, you know, you find that wing person and everything changes.
Definitely. So, what about y'all? What's compatible for y'all? From a woman's perspective.
I didn't realize this was
Right, for the love of men. Okay, this is a
Men want to know
Okay.
what makes.
Your perspective on compatibility.
Go ahead, Doc.
Y'all playing tennis.
It's bad.
I would say, I mean, it's kind of a combination of what's already been said. I think in order to know what is compatible for you, you have to know you. And how do you know you if you don't sit and spend time with you? Right? Like, we talk about love languages. Like, yeah, I know my top 2, right? It's not gift giving, but I do make it a point to give myself flowers. That makes me happy, right? And it has nothing to do with, oh, my man has to come and give me flowers. Like, no, if he does, that's a great added surprise, right? But at the end of the day, like, what do I want? Why do I need that? And I like how the table looks. Aesthetics, right? Like, that's my thing.
It's aesthetically pleasing.
Aesthetically pleasing, right? But I don't know that if I don't sit there and spend time with myself, and I'm not sitting there alone without the distractions. And I was like, what would look nicer there? Oh, I like flowers here, right? I mean, that's a superficial answer, but that's real too, right? I don't know that or one of the things that's important is someone who values family, right? Unless I make it a point to make sure that I value my family every Sunday. We do Sunday dinner. Like, I'm not saying the person I date has to come to every single Sunday dinner, but you need to understand, like, unless we're out of town or it's a baby shower or something else, like, this is where I'm going to be. I would love for you to show up. I would love for you to be important. If we keep going, if we get married, this is something you will have to incorporate. That's a spoken expectation and not an unspoken one, right? But that is an aspect of compatibility. Family has to be up here. It can't be here. I'm not going to force you to bring it up. It just has to be up here already.
So, question along those lines. Say you meet someone whose core value is family as well, but it's building their own family because they don't have that family. So they're coming from a background where they're like, I don't necessarily need to plug in with already existing family. I want to be with you to create our own family.
So what's your question?
That they have no desire to be at Sunday dinner with your family because they're like, that's not my expectation. My expectation is to build a family with you.
I mean, for me, I feel like I want to build a family with my partner, but it has to include my family too. Like, it doesn't have to include like every extended uncle, sister, auntie, brother, but at the core, like, my mom is for sure at the core. Like, she has to be able to be brought into the family unit we're building. And if that's a hard no, then
I have a question. What? And this will go to Doc. Because I do
skated out in this room.
I was about to say something, but
no. Please, King.
Because my question is, as well, is coming from somebody who was married with somebody who had that situation. I understand your values and stuff in that nature, but let's just flip it on the other side. Is it okay? Because you may have a conflict. Maybe this dude is a mama's boy. Let's just use that word. People use that, but they spend time with their mom, and you got your mom. How would you feel if he's like, okay, you got to come to this Sunday dinner, and you got your
That'd be fine. I'm not, because I feel like the entire point when you're this is my perspective. I'm not putting this on anyone else. If
that's what I'm saying. But from
if you're dating someone and the intention, you have the same intention to build, to get married, to have a family, to grow, right? You're blending your families, you're blending your lives, and there's compromise in that. And it's not going to be all about me and mine. If you do Sunday dinner with yours, yeah, I'm okay with rotate holidays too. Like every holiday doesn't have to be at one or the other's house, right? At one point, I obviously want all the holidays at my house so that everyone's family can just come to the one spot, put it together. And I know that's a lot of work. I understand that. I'm aware. But, right? Like the...
Are you, though?
Yes. But... yes.
We say we're aware, but I mean, that's a big task.
No, it is. And I feel like part of the reason why I've taken so long to get married and to have kids is because I'm very intentional about how I want the future to look. And how I need to be and where I need to grow in order to be that woman in that space, which is to host both families, which is a lot.
Okay, because I just wanted to check, because it seemed like, and I just wanted to make sure I clarify, because it seemed like you was like, it was all or nothing. Mm-hmm. That's what it sounded. That's why I said I wanted to ask, because I was like, what if he's got his own family? But then I understand too, because there are situations I've seen where somebody don't know that dynamic and it's not comfortable for them, so they're still building it, but wants to build it with that person and create their own traditions. And it's kind of like, well, we're building it over here, but you know what I'm saying, the parents come to the house, to your house, as opposed to them always leaving their home. Because a lot of people are comfortable in their home, you know,
right.
And to have to always leave your home, especially on a Sunday. Sunday's like my day. I don't really do too much. It's like family time, stuff like that. So, you know, we come from that same thing. It's like usually we eat at the table and stuff, and I'm trying to still keep that tradition going on in ours. So I definitely understand that. I just wanted to make sure that
No, it's not an all or nothing.
Okay, I just wanted to say you died
because you said it was a spoken expectation.
Yeah,
that's why we asked.
Okay, that's fair.
But it also gave you space to clarify.
Right.
Because it just seemed like that you.
No, it's not an all or nothing. And like I said, like if the intention is for whoever it is for us to build, then no, like it's so that we're both feel like both of our needs are being met moving forward in that value of family.
Okay, because I know that's not your intention, but no, because there are times, and I wanted to clarify that, because there are times where there are like women that kind of like, this is what it is, because you're talking about spoken or unspoken expectations. This is just what I expect, and there's no give. There's no give to it. Like you got, and if the hearts are pure and stuff like that, it's like, baby, I understand. You know what I'm saying? You go to your family, stuff like this, but I really want to start our own traditions, because to have to do that and being from somebody who had an Oriental, an Asian, whatever culture, I want to be politically correct, but being that she was Japanese, a lot of times in their culture, it's always the parent, and you got to do what the parent does. And our culture is normally like, hey man, a lot of times that our family members move out your stuff as much as possible. They may talk or something like that, but they're not trying to run your life.
Yeah, they don't control it.
They don't control it, and that's very controlling. So
but I think there's a difference between control and wanting to stay close.
Facts.
Because my mom's not gonna be like, why you ain't, like, she's not.
No, it's not in a reflection. I'm just speaking from somebody. I was speaking about the person coming into your life's dynamics.
Yeah.
So coming from those situations, like a lot of times I have seen people who are not even comfortable with the family dynamic, and they're learning the situation. They want it, and it's like they're trying to build it, so they're trying to build their own because they want to see what it looks like from that perspective.
And or it could be something like a trigger for them, because they like, oh, I went through this stuff with this other person. Now you want to have with your whole family. I can't do this again.
I had a relationship with a woman who was also big on family, and I'm huge on family as well. And we were like, oh, that's what's up. We both have the same core value, but it played out completely different.
Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Instagram, and come back for the next episode. See you then.
As we were talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, that'd be dope, right? Because if my family's in town, like they could come stay for a little bit. And she was like, well, what about my family when they fly in here? I was hoping that they could stay for like 6 months of the year. And I was like,
what?
I was like,
that's moving in.
Right.
6 months. That's a long time.
That's a lease. That ain't.
She was like, yeah.